His time signature, how fast you're counting the time signature, okay? What if he's counting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, that means if he's counting it faster than you, he'll be way down there on his music, reading his music, and you'll still be over here. And the notes aren't matching up, are they? So it'll sound terrible. That's why you have a time signature. And this is what the Bugattias and the basses do. When you're playing music, you listen to your rhythm section, and that is defined as your Bugatti and your bass. They keep the time signature. They keep the tempo, time signature, rhythm, all interchangeable. They keep that rhythm for you. So they will become, you'll hear the Bugatti strumming. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like your metronome. That's what the Bugatti and the bass are doing for you. They're keeping the rhythm. So when you're playing later on with other musicians, you've got to listen to your rhythm section. And your rhythm section is your Bugatti and your bass. They are your metronome. Whatever the beat is, they're going to keep it for you. That keeps all the musicians playing together. Now when you're at home, and what if you're playing with somebody that came over that knows how to play and you want to play together? Well, then you're going to have to count at the same tempo. Use your foot. Tap your foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or whatever it is, you're going to have to count the same. I would advise tapping your foot while you're at home. Just keep the tempo. Okay? Well, I hope you understand time signatures. In the next lesson, I'm going to put time signatures and notes, and we're going to count some measures out. But what I want you to know here now is there's 3 time signatures that you're going to be using. 4-4, 3-4, and 2-4. And what that means to you. And you should know that, right? 2 beats in a measure, 3 beats in a measure, 4 beats in a measure. And bugs and bass keep you in tempo, and you have to count each measure to yourself along with them. So that's it on my lesson on time signatures. Okay, this is lesson number 19. All right. What we're going to do here is we're going to combine notes and time signatures, and I'm going to show you how to count them in a measure, okay? We're going to combine the previous lessons. All right. The first one we're going to use is 4-4. Now you remember that the top number is the number of counts in a measure, the number of beats. So there's 4 counts in each measure. The bottom number is a note that gets the count. So if it's a 4, it means a quarter note. So that means there's 4 quarter notes. So everything's got to add up to 4. But remember that just because it means it adds up to 4, it could be any combination of notes that add up to 4. That means it could be 8 notes because they're each a half, and that would add up to 4. Or you could have a whole note, or you could have 2 quarter notes and a half note. And as long as everything adds up to 4. No less, no more. Everything's got to add up to 4. All right. Now when you do this lesson, you have to count consistently. Because the tempo is 4-4, means when you're practicing this, you have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, at a constant, consistent pace. If you're doing this and you're practicing at home and you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's wrong. Because you might get to a measure that you can't play, so you slow down the tempo to play it. note. How I want you to practice something like that is you start the whole thing off slow, you play it all consistently, then you gradually speed it up. If you can only get to measure 2, then do 1 and 2 at the same pace. When you got 1 and 2 down, you go to measure 3 and you play 1, 2, and 3. This is how I want you to practice it at home. Don't look at the whole piece of music, expect to play it, forget it. Learn one measure at a time. And when you learn one measure, then play the first and the second measure. Then play the first, second, and third measure. And then go to the fourth measure. And then you'll be able to play at a consistent tempo. And remember what I said in the beginning. Start off real slow, whatever pace it takes, and gradually get faster. That's how you learn. Okay, here we go. I'm going to count this for you. All right, let's check this count out. Each one of these is a quarter note. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4, correct? Half note, how many counts does it get? 2. And eighth notes get a half, and a quarter note gets 1. Let's add it up. 2 plus a half is 2 and a half, plus a half is 3, plus 1 is 4. Right? All we're doing is making sure each measure counts to 4, just to show you. A whole note, we know that gets 4 beats. That's easy enough. Does this measure add up to 4? A half plus a half is 1, plus 1 is 2. And a half note gets what? 2 beats. 2 plus 2 is 4. Yes, we're okay. 1 beat for the quarter note, a half a beat for an eighth note, a half a beat for an eighth note, so that's 1 plus a half is 2, plus another 1 for a quarter note is 3, plus 1 for another quarter note is 4. Just remember, everything's got to add up to 4. Okay, here we go. We're using a G string. Remember, the object of this lesson is to count. You can play it on your instrument. I showed you how to pick. We didn't tremolo yet, that's next lesson. So you can pick these. And you say, well, how do I pick 2 beats? You just pick it and let it hold for 2 beats, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay. Did I scare you on these eighth notes? You're probably wondering how to count those, weren't you? But what I do, and what everybody should do, is when you have eighth notes, you say and, one and, to get them both in. But notice when I said to count for this, I said it like I was counting 1. So I got 2 and in there for 1 beat. Watch it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. If my hand was the metronome, my 4 beats never went off count. I squeezed those 2 eighth notes in 1 count by saying 3 and. Watch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's how you would play it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Same thing over here. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's try the whole thing again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. I don't know if that's too fast the way I'm counting for you to play it, but what I want you to get used to is counting right here. You can slow this down and play it at your own pace. All right, let's check another time signature out. 3, 4. What does that mean? How many beats are in a measure? Top number is 3, so 3 beats. The quarter note gets the beat, which means a quarter note gets 1 beat, so 3 times 1 is 3. 3 beats in a measure. Let's try it. We've got a dot and half here. What does a dot do to a note on the right side? It adds half the value to it. And we know that the value of a half note, which you should have memorized a long time ago, is 2. So a half times 2 is 1. You add that to it. 2 plus 1 is 3. So now we know that this note gets 3 because a dot extends the normal value 1/2 farther. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3. See the 1 and when I had 8 notes? They still fit in one count. Just you say 1 and that fits in one count. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3. I'm only counting 3 beats with my right hand. All right. We're going to do one more time signature. It's 2/4 time. Okay? In 2/4 music, it's faster music. A lot of your colos, a lot of your faster songs are going to use 2/4, and they have a lot of 8 notes in them usually. All right, because we know that there can only be 2 beats in a measure, and the quarter note gets the beat, so that means you've got to count to 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. So everything's got to add up to 2. So let's go. So that means you can't have a whole note in 2/4, right? Because it's got 4 beats in it. And I couldn't have put that dotted half here because I can only have a maximum of 2 notes a measure. 2 beats a measure, 2 beats. Because the time signature is 2/4. Let's count this. 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2, 1 and 2. That's too fast for that, I'm sure. Let's slow this down. If the count was 1, 2, let's count it. 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2, 1 and 2 and. If you want, you could have said 1 and right here, if it's easier for you to count that way, so it's consistent. I'll do the same thing here, but it means you've got to hold that quarter note for 1 and, 2 and, 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and. Watch. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. See how it correlates? Let's do it. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Let's do it one more time. I'm holding this for 1 beat, and I've got to put the ands in there because you've got to get the 8th notes in there. So we're actually counting the half beats now. So this is a half beat, 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 and that adds up to 2, right? 4 times 1/2, half is 2, correct? A half, a half, a half and a half, a half, a half, same thing all the way down. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. That's how you count half beats. Okay? Okay, that's my lesson here on counting the note values with your time signatures. Go over this, and I'll show you how to tremolo in the next lesson, lesson 20. Hi, lesson 20, and you're finally going to learn how to tremolo. Okay, You've been picking everything up until now. Now, this lesson, you might get stuck on for a little while, so I want you to take your time and be sure you do this correctly. All right, you're holding your instrument properly, right? All right. Now, what is a tremolo? It's a rapid down and up movement on your strings. In picking, we just went down. In tremoloing, we're going to go down, up, down, up, down, up. Rapidly, constantly. It's a smooth sound. Okay, do you hear what I just did? Try it for yourself. Now, does your tremolo sound like this? That's not right. Smooth, constant. You don't want to hear the breakup in the sound. You do not want to hear this. And you don't want to hit your other strings while you're tremoloing. Same rules that apply to picking apply to tremoloing. Now, when I told you about picking, I told you if you had a double first string that you pick both at once, correct? But when you tremolo, you have to hit both strings at once also. So each tremolo is covering both strings. You cannot even hear that I'm hitting both strings at once. It sounds like one sound, correct? I am not getting my pick in between that double string. I'm hitting both. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Rapidly, smoothly, constantly. Now, I want you to tremolo your G string, or your first string. If it's a D instrument, your D string. So your first string, let's call it. Tremolo. Now, the same practice lesson that I have with your picking, you do the same thing. D, second string, third string, fourth string, third string, second string, first string. Now look, do not stop this lesson until you can tremolo each string without hitting the other strings with a constant, loud tremolo. Don't tremolo like this. Please, if you're watching this video, do not go any further until I can hear a good, strong tremolo from you. Hear the difference? I don't want to hear this. If you're playing like this, don't. Stop right now and work on it. Now is there any difference in how I'm holding my hand between the pick and the tremolo? None whatsoever. Everything is the same. Hand positions are all the same. Wrist positions are all the same. All I'm doing now is I told you that you have to be in a cup and you have to have a little bit of arch here. Well, I'm going to try to hold it sideways so you can get a picture of this while I'm tremoloing. Okay? The most important thing in tremoloing is a constant sound, a smooth sound. Now, you can stop the video before I finish this lesson right here until you get it. Because before I teach you what notes are supposed to be tremoloed, you've got to be able to tremolo. So don't watch the rest of this until you know how to tremolo. So I assume that from this point on you're going to be able to tremolo. Okay? Here we go. What notes are tremoloed? Because before I had you picking everything. Well, not all notes are picked. Matter of fact, only certain notes are picked. Every note from the quarter note and higher in count value, that means 1 and higher in count value, should be tremoloed. Unless it's marked otherwise, and we'll go on to that later on. But for our video, you will tremolo quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, and anything dotted, like a dotted quarter, a dotted half, a dotted whole. All those notes are tremoloed. So I drew some notes for you, and I will play them with you. Now, eighth notes are picked. So I drew a couple eighth notes in there for you. Now, what's the difference here? I do a whole bunch of different types of notes, but are you just going to tremolo all the way through here? No. You still have to break up the sound when you go to a different note. So let's try this. The time signature is 4, so that means you have to tremolo the whole note for 4 counts, and the half note for 2 counts, and each quarter note for 1 count, correct? And the 8 notes for your picking. You're picking your 8 notes all the time. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Did you hear the difference between the notes? Okay, don't play with me. Listen to me. I have a slight pause between half note and whole note. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, did you notice there was a little breakup in the tremolo itself when I change notes? Because they are different notes. Otherwise, we could have just drawn another whole note, da-da-da. It's the sound, it's the emphasis, and so you have to break up the tremolo slightly. Not a long pause, just a slight pause. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when I have a whole note or a half note and I'm tremoloing constantly, it's got to be smooth. It's got to be smooth. Watch this video over and over and over until you get this right. All right, this is it for lesson 20 on tremoloing. Remember, I'll recap. All quarter notes and above in count, which means 1 and higher in count, I want you to tremolo. 8 notes are always going to be picked. Okay? So, you've got to get this tremolo down, nice and smooth. Listen to how I played it on the video, and then listen to yourself and compare it. Now again, your wrist should have some strength in it from picking, but now you have to get a smooth tremolo, up and down. And I don't want the pick to have a lot of room between the strings. Don't be doing this. You don't need a lot of space. See the space I got right there? Can you get this? We'll try it. See how much space I have? If you're holding it out like this, I can't even do that. You can't tremolo like that. You have to have just a little bit of space there by the pick, okay? The tremolo is coming from your wrist. All right, I'm going to stop this lesson here. I hope you can get it by watching this video. This is vital. Again, another vital lesson like all the rest were. And here, we're on the 20th floor of your skyscraper, and we've got 3 more floors to go. And I just want to remind you that I put a lot of stuff in the book, little things that maybe I didn't include as I was talking, and especially at the end of the book, I've got some terminology there that can be helpful to you. So get this tremolo down pat. Please do not go any farther until you get this down. Hi, lesson 21, entitled Tied Notes. What are tied notes? Okay, you know how to tremolo now, I hope. Okay, here are the same notes that you had in lesson 20. What is a tied note? A tied note, you'll see like a half bowl connecting two notes. It's a tie. It's a tied note. What does that do? Well, what it does is, it just means that your tremolo is constant now. You don't have that little pause in between notes. So if I tied these two notes, you'd count, you have 4 counts for the whole note, right? And 2 counts for the half note, correct? Well, you tremolo constantly now for 6 notes. So it'd be a smooth 6-count tremolo. Now, can I only have 2 notes tied? No. I can tie as many notes as I want, and then your tremolo would just be one big, long, smooth tremolo. Let's look at it here. I'll draw, hopefully, some straight bars here and make some measures for you and draw some tied notes. Now, if we assume that the time signature is 4/4, and I have a whole note, and hey, let's use a different note. Let's use A. All right, and I have another A, whole note, and I have some quarter note A's, and another half note A. Can these notes be tied? Sure can. You can tie it like this, and then you draw another tie, and you can, if you drew the tie and you wanted all these notes to be played like one note, you can just draw the tie to the end note. Let's look at this for a second. So what is this telling you? It's telling you that this tremolo is constant all the way through to the A. Even though the tie is not hitting each one of these notes, I went underneath it. That means everything is included. So the tie can also mean all notes in between the tie are tremolo as a constant tremolo. Let's try it. Let's first try our first piece of music that you've seen already. Now that we're tying these 2 notes, let's hear the difference in sound. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hear the difference? Go back with the other tape if you don't. I had that first 6 beats as one constant smooth tremolo. Let's look at my A note example. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 12 total counts, because we're in 4/4 time, right? So that was 4 counts, and this measures a total of 4 counts because each measure adds up to 4. And I just had one smooth, continuous tremolo instead of breaking up the notes. So that's what a tie does. And like I said, I could even have another measure tied. It's up to the writer of music, and it's up to his preference in sound. So now you know that when you have a tied note, you're going to constantly tremolo. Well, I've also got to tell you one other thing about a tied note, what it does. And don't get all out of whack on this. If this note was marked sharp, and because it's tied, and remember I said a sharp or a flat is only good for the measure that it's in, but I just tied it to a new measure, we have to play this note sharp, even though it's in another measure, because we tied it. We tied it. So it's everything that applies to this note is applied to that note because it's tied, even though it's in a new measure. This is the exception to the rule on sharps and flats only pertaining to one measure. When the note is tied into the following measure, you have to do whatever this note is doing. Okay? What happens to these 2 notes? They're natural. Because they're not, the rules still apply about what pertains to what measure, but when you have a note tied from a following measure, it uses the rules of this measure, okay? So these would be natural. This note would be sharp because it happens to be tied. Let's look at this A note. Let's use a flat. If I happen to make this A flat, all these A's would be flat. Because we're playing follow the leader, and the tied note, it just means follow the same rule, follow the tremolo, follow the A flat all the way through. So all these notes would be A flat because we tied them together. We made it one note. Think about it. Tying them together, now it's one thing. Instead of being separate notes, we just tied them together for the same note. And because I told that note to be G sharp, that note has to be G sharp because it is now tied to it. Okay, that's it for my tied lesson in the book. It's the same thing I said is in there. And I'll see you in lesson 22. Lesson 22, rests. What is a rest? What does it mean? It means stop playing. Don't do anything. Why is this important? If you ever listen to a concert, sometimes you have instruments that aren't playing. In a symphony, you have instruments that are just standing there and not doing anything. What is telling them to do nothing? It's called a rest. Okay. What does it mean? Don't play. Well, how long should you not play? Very simple. I told you that you have an eighth note, a quarter note, a half note, and a whole note. And by now you know how long each one is held, right? How many counts they get. Well, for each one of those notes, there's a corresponding rest to tell you not to play for that long. Very easy, right? If we know that an eighth note, you don't play for a half a beat. So for an eighth rest, which happens to look like a 7 with a little dot on it, you don't play for a half beat. And notice that the rests are named the same way as the quarter notes. The same way the notes are named, except we have rest after them. Eighth rest instead of eighth note, quarter rest instead of quarter note, half rest instead of half note, and whole rest instead of whole note. And this is what they look like. Now we're at the quarter rest. And this is what it looks like. And I will draw this for you on the staff in a second, but let's just look at it, okay? A quarter note gets one beat, so a quarter rest would get one beat. So that means you don't play for one beat. Now, what does a half note get? 2 beats. So a half rest would get 2 beats. Now let me show you something here. I waited until we got to this point to draw this in. Both the half rest and the whole rest look the same, but the half rest is on top of the line. So this is the line on any line on your staff. This could be any line. Well, no, it cannot be any line. I take that back. This has to be the B line. It's always drawn on your B line. So on your B line, you'll have the half rest on top. And then we get to the whole rest, and on the same B line, you'll always see it on the bottom of the B line. And I'll draw it for you in a second. So that's the difference between a half rest and a whole rest. Look at like a top hat, and this is like an open hat. Upside down hat. So we know a whole note gets 4 beats, right? We already know that. So what does the whole rest get? 4 beats. No big deal. What do you have to learn here? You have to learn what these look like, right? And recognize them if you see them in music. That you stop playing for that amount of beats. Now, I also told you before that quarter notes and half notes, the notes themselves can be dotted, which means what? They get 1.5 times the value. Well, can rest be dotted? Sure can, no difference. So let's dot them just to show you. Oops. Okay, that's an 8th rest. And now we put a dot there, just like we do for a note. And if an 8th note, or an 8th rest gets a half a beat, a dotted 8th rest would get 3/4 of a beat. And a quarter note gets a quarter rest gets 1 beat. And here's a quarter rest. And if we dotted it, it's 1.5 times, right? So it would be 1.5 beat rest. Rest, don't play, remember. Same thing with the half rest. Here's the half rest. Here's just the B line on my staff. Here's a little rectangle filled in on the top of it. And if we dot it, what's 1.5 times 2? 3 beats. So for 3 beats, we would not play. And the same thing, here's my B line on my staff, the B line. And here's my little rectangle on the bottom of the line. And if we dotted it, that would be 4 times 1.5, which would be 6 beats. So for 6 beats, we don't play. And all the rules about tied notes and everything that apply, not so much tied notes, but all the rules of music apply to rest as they do to notes. This is just a corresponding symbol to tell you not to play, okay? I'll draw in a couple rests now on the staff. All right, let's say that we did not have this tied note here. Let's say that we did not want to play for 4 beats. So I don't want to play for 4 beats. What equals that? A whole rest, right? A whole note is equal to 4, so a whole rest is equal to 4. And a whole rest is on the bottom of the B line. It's a little rectangle filled in like a bar on the bottom of the B line, bottom line. See, it's on the bottom part of it. So if we saw this symbol right here, we would not play for 4 beats. All right? Let's draw the half rest. Because let's get rid of these tied notes. And let's get rid of this half note. Let's not play right there. All right? A half rest is a rectangle filled in on the top of the B line on your staff. And that is equal to 2 counts. Well, I'm going to draw some more notes in for you. First, I'm going to draw a rest. And I'm going to draw a quarter rest. And then I'll draw another A note. And then I'll draw another quarter rest. And I'll draw A note. Now, before I play this and show you how to play this and count this, Bugattias and basses, you're always going to see rests in your music, because you're always resting between notes. Most of your music, you have a rest, beat, rest, beat, rest, beat. So, be aware of this lesson. All right, let's count this lesson out first. This is a whole rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. You count it, but you don't play it. And then you play your A note for 4 beats. Then I would have 2 quarter notes, so I count 1, 2, rest, 2, rest, tremolo, rest, tremolo. So let's try it. I'll count to 4. We'll start with this first measure right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Tremolo, 2, 3, 4. Tremolo, tremolo, rest, 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 tremolo, rest, tremolo. Let's do it again. I always, when I have a long rest like this, I say rest, 2, 3, 4, and use the rest word for my first beat. So I know that I'm not playing for 4 beats, okay? And when I'm tremoling, I always say the word tremolo, 2, 3, 4, when I'm counting to myself. So if you'd like to use that method, do it. Okay, let's do it from here again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Tremolo, 2, 3, 4. Tremolo, tremolo, rest, rest, rest. Tremolo, rest, tremolo. See how that works? And again, as I'm counting to myself, I just say the word rest for my count. Rest, tremolo, rest, tremolo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, tremolo, rest, tremolo. See how that works? Now, if we had eighth rests in here instead of eighth notes, it'd be the same thing. You know, you just don't play for that half beat there, okay? So, if we were just to look at this measure here, you'd count it 1, rest, and 2, pardon me, 1, rest, and 3, 4. 1, rest, and 3, 4. So, you play this note, you tremolo it, you rest, you pick, and you tremolo. You want to hear that? Sure you do. Okay, here we go. I'll count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, rest, and 3, 4. Okay, listen closely. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, rest, and 3, 4. Did you hear that? 1, I rested, I picked, and I tremoloed this. Do it again. Listen closely. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, rest, and 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, rest, and 3, 4. You're going to see a lot of eighth rests in music farther down the line. That's how you would count that, okay? All right, so in this lesson, you learned rests, not to play. Should you practice not playing? Well, you should practice memorizing what those 8 rests look like, okay? So we have the 8th rest, quarter rest, half rest, whole rest, and then we have the dotted rest that correspond to those rests. And that's it for lesson 22 on rest. Guess what? I'll see you in 23.